Automatic admissions is a process used by high schools and colleges to separate students based on their academic abilities. I'm sure you've experienced automatic admission when applying to universities or have had the stressful experience of trying to compete against your fellow classmates for the top 10% of your class. I personally experienced this when going throughout my high school education, as I was always trying to reach the top 10% but failed to do so. Throughout me trying my best to get into that percentile, it gave me a lot of stress and anxiety as I could never seem to be good enough to reach my goal. Today, I will persuade you why automatic admission shouldn't continue and the struggles it places on students. For starters, let's talk about why automatic admission shouldn't be a thing. Students who are not in the top 10 percentile are still good students. However, they are often overlooked by colleges and high schools as they are not as academically competitive as others. Additionally, a lot of students in the top 10% have no extracurricular activities or other outside responsibilities, so they are free to be able to sit at home and study, therefore making better grades and being placed higher than other students. Of course, that's not to say that people who are in the top 10% shouldn't be applauded for their academic achievements, but how is it fair to other students to discount them with potential opportunities just because they're not in the top 10%? After all, automatic admissions provided an incentive for students to meet criteria and state universities a good boost in attracting the brightest students from their state, stated by RealPage. So it makes sense why one would want to keep it. But there are also many other flaws and damages that automatic admission causes. For example, the second students apply with automatic admission, they are accepted into the college of their choice, and students who don't apply with automatic admission now have to fight for the remaining spots. Fairtest stated that according to some administrators, the top 10% plan had become too successful, where more than 85% of students entering UT Austin this fall were admitted under the top 10% rules. That left very few seats for anyone else, including some talented students who did not graduate near the top of a highly competitive classes. Some schools have 400 to 700 kids, for example, where getting into the top 10% of those schools is incredibly competitive. But there could be some other schools that have 200 kids, where getting into the top 10% at their schools is not as competitive. Additionally, some schools are more academically rigorous than others. For example, say a student in the 25th percentile at one school might not be in the top 10% at that school, but if they went to another school that was less academically rigorous, they would be in the top 10%. So how is it fair to discredit a student just because they weren't in the top 10% when the system itself is so flawed across different campuses? I, for example, was in the 50th percentile, but had a bunch of extracurricular activities such as band and track, which took up a good majority of my time outside of school. I remember thinking, I wish I was good enough to be in the top 10%. When in fact, I was good enough. I was smart, I was making mostly straight A's while still being involved in so many extracurricular activities, and I shouldn't have been dumbing myself down academically, but in high school they put so much emphasis on being in the top 10% that if you're not, well then you just simply aren't trying hard enough. Finally, let's talk about the damages it causes students. Oftentimes it knocks down the confidence of other students because in their minds they aren't succeeding in school. In high school, there's also a lot of struggles that aren't accounted for, such as students may be having to take care of their siblings after school or having to work a part-time job to help pay for food on the table, so they don't have time to study and do schoolwork as much as some other students do. I think those things should be taken into consideration when looking at academic standing. NYU conducted a study that showed nearly half of all students reported feeling a great deal of stress on a daily basis and 31% feeling somewhat stressed. So there are a lot of students who are stressed out trying to uphold the intense academic standard that is constantly being placed on them. I think students should be looked at more holistically instead of just grades. Someone who might not have as high of grades as another student could be more equipped socially for jobs and certain interactions than someone who is just book smart. In conclusion, I think automatic admission should be taken away as it is a system that is too judgmental amongst students and is currently flawed. After all, how would you feel if you couldn't attend your dream college because someone was automatically admitted instead of you? Thank you.